Greetings and salutations, this is Jarsz, the biggest YouTuber ever! And good morning, Jarsals! Welcome to another edition of the Daily Jarsz for the 22nd of November, 2023, the 60th anniversary of the JFK assassination, sadly. But let's cheer up our world with corgis. Members, let's see some corgis in the chat. A special shout out to those who clicked subscribe yesterday. Welcome to the world of Jarsz. I hope you enjoy the show. Today we look at the motor mouth of nothingness, Austin Witsit, who ironically names his channel Witsit Gets It, as he utterly refuses to get anything, no matter how clearly it's explained to him. A conglomeration of his willful ignorance, ego and arrogance means that he sadly probably never will. But before we get stuck into him, I want to thank my YouTube members. And thank you once again for all that you do for me, and thanks for being part of the huge Jarsz movement. And yes, still haven't done the roll. I will have it ready for tomorrow. So in the I want to impress Dave with a roll. So in the meantime, let me personally recognise the members who joined thanks to Siggy Sigwald's generosity last week. Armageddon's Fire, Peter Harrington, Siggy Sigwald himself, Professor Phil Bell, Phil de Ork, CO Gold, A Madman, Clarence AS2, Rich 901, Tinker Phil, Igor, Mr. Unite for the Chillwind, Edison Carter, Facty, Dart, Peter Nottle, Didge Redo, Dr. Nimrod, Lady Moonweb, Paul's Heart Attack Support, and Doc C. Thank you all for being part of this channel. Now, on to Witsit. But I think before we go any further, I need to play this.
Headphone warning in 3, 2, 1. Severe facepalm warning is in effect. Oven mitts mandatory from this point forward. You are at risk of pummeling yourself to death with facepalm.
Facepalms, yes. And that's a serious warning. You need to protect yourself with this one. And Air Scare La is my brother, actually. It's not me. He's part of the Jarsz family, of course. Okay, for Witsit, there's only so much I can show in half an hour, but I hope I can give you a taste of what he's like if you haven't seen him before. Oh, Tuss, 10 pounds. I lost a bet to Probe 666 regarding Rachie showing up, so I have to pay you 10 pounds. Had I won, I would demand the tenner and a grovelling apology, but they're a better person, not as petty as I am. Okay, mate. Thank you so much. Next time I'm over in the UK, I plan on visiting you, and I'll buy you a whiskey. Probably cost £20 in the UK. It's expensive over there. Where was I up to? Yeah, you probably don't want a lot of Witsit, but I'm going to introduce him by playing one of my own videos from a couple of years ago when he was still friendly with the most irrelevant flat earther on the globe, Nathan Thompson. Remember him? You shouldn't. This was from before when Nathan ripped Witsit off, of course. The two of them in a room together created a singularity of dumb, as you'll see.
I thought it wasn't possible to get dumber than Sleeping Warrior and Nathan Oakley on the same stream. Well, Witsit Gets It, and Nathan Thompson said, hold my beer. I'm only going to show you about 90 seconds of it, but it can only be described, to borrow a term from Dead Kennedy in Space, as a singularity of dumb. Get your oven mitts out for this one. You'll need them. No, seriously, pause the video now and go get your oven mitts. You'll need them.
crazy to you that you can't in any way verify that they do. Half the time they admit that they don't write their own stuff. We know that they're signed out to megalithic companies that have a very concerted effort and interest in convincing you to, for example, glorify mental illness, to take pharmaceutical drugs, to sink into depravity, to even pretend as if somehow sodomy isn't going to kill you, right? Everything that's degenerate, run around, have babies, kill them if they become pregnant. Just do anything you can, sinking into depravity. That's what they're pushing. They're controlling the lyrics, so I don't see how you don't think someone else wrote it.
Everyone knows this song, REM, and Donald said you had to be in REM sleep to go to the cloning centers. And so they have another song called Man on the Moon, exposes how we never went to the moon. So if you got here and didn't already know that, no one landed on the moon. We don't live on a spinning ball in space. But it says, oh, life is bigger. It's bigger than you. And you are not me. The lengths that I will go, the distance in your eyes. So remember how he said they went into the eye? And then it says, oh, no, I've said too much. I set it up. So right there, one of the most famous song REM has talks about going the distance into your eyes. Oh, no, I said too much.
I said too much.
Oh, that's a coincidence too, Austin.
Yeah,
Yeah, a song is proof that Earth is flat.
coincidence that they're obsessed with the eyes. Humans can't explain the eyes, and that the literal most infamous eye that you've been shoved down your throat that these little Illuminati people love literally has a little squiggle
An eye down your throat? Ugh.
coming out of it, and then all of the mainstream modern history cartoons are flooded with a symbology about the evolution, 3 processes of evolution, to where you go to different states, and they're just different states of the world, and then they oftentimes go into hibernation. Now they need a willing party or vessel, right? That means you can't be protected by Yeshua. You must actually go seek some of this stuff. That's the part that I think Donald's missing a bit. I think he thinks they have a little more power than they do, right?
Oh, yes. That's oh my God. You get. Oh, that's an introduction to Witsit. It's going to get worse, I'm sorry. Oh, let me tee up the next one. So, the next, what Witsit is best known for is the torrent of verbal diarrhea, as you just experienced, that pours out of his mouth. It really gets... Oh, hang on. I've jumped ahead. My apologies. Like most flirts these days, most of Witsit's videos are either done by other people or feature him talking over copyrighted music, so it's difficult to use them in a debunking video. A tactic that indicates that they fear being debunked, which is telling in itself, isn't it? This video, yes, have mercy. This video is again from a couple of years ago, but in it, Witsit clearly states what his position is and the ridiculous reasons why. Let's laugh at the stupid. How will I do it this way?
Replication to actually verify their postulations. It's a
I apologize. This one's a bit quiet. I can't make it any louder, so listen carefully.
clown world. Okay, it's pathetic. It is so pathetic, honestly. Like, it's so easy to wipe the floor with the Globers in a debate, so I'm explaining. And also, just for a little context, you're not a Glober just because you think the Earth's a globe. You're a Glober if you're, given all this information and you double down in the face of it out of ignorance. Willful ignorance, cognitive dissonance, confirmation bias, that makes you a Glober. Okay, like a lot of the people
Projection.
that are going to jump in here from the flat Earth and globe discussion are Globers. Y'all are pathetic. I'm just going to be real with you. Okay, so we were all indoctrinated. It's all good. So, very simply, we have too much evidence that has falsified the claim of the radius and the curvature that's necessitated of the claim of radius and circumference. It's a necessitation of the globe Earth claim. It isn't negotiable. We have a long distance laser test of 25 miles, 30 miles, from 1.5 meters off the ground. The literal impossibility if the Earth was a globe. Okay, and so not only we make one claim.
Well, it's an impossibility if there's no atmosphere, but we do have an atmosphere and light refracts.
Claim. That is a claim to a general descriptor of the surface of the Earth that's flat. We have the burden of proof to substantiate it's flat. Well, we have done that. I just now gave you numerous examples, and there's thousands of them. We've substantiated the claim of flat. That's all we have to substantiate. We don't claim it.
No, you haven't. You only cited the laser things, and that's easily debunked. Goodness me.
Definitive model. We're not even allowed to traverse the whole Earth. I'm not sure if you're aware. So how could we possibly know a definitive model?
Why do you think you're not allowed to traverse the whole Earth? Oh, Antarctic Treaty? Doesn't say anything about that.
That's non sequitur to the fact that we have falsified your model. The falsification of the positive claim of the globe Earth doesn't just go away because you want to poke holes in a straw man model. Okay, I really hope that people are listening to what I'm saying if you're a glober, because it's
projection again.
So incredibly simple if you really just understand what I'm saying. Okay, so again, you don't get to shift the burden of proof. That's a fallacy. So it's that simple. It made a claim.
Yeah. So in debates with globers, as he calls them, They're always saying, oh, globers are trying to shift the burden of proof. Well, the problem is the burden of proof for the globe has been met. So then any claims against that need to have some proof. You have none.
Claim of curvature, we falsified that claim. If it's not curved, what is it? It's flat. Very simple stuff. And
Well, that's not a logical conclusion. Oh, Dave's here. Nobody should listen to Witsit if they've eaten with the last hour because he forces a giant serving a word salad. That might be a good segue for me to play this. Oops, I can't find it quickly. Where's it gone? Don't tell me it's popped off the list now. Oh, there it is. Sorry.
New word salad cream. New word salad cream. It's flat free. It's flat free.
Be they either.
I'm a stupid flat earther. I'm a stupid flat earther.
On the verge of revealing.
Get your salads extra fluffy with word salad cream. With word salad cream.
There's no intelligibility. There's no intelligibility.
And none of us are expected to know. And none of us are expected to know making this kind of stuff. We're making this for water.
I would choose still water because in my model it would be perfectly level, flat, straight.
Flat Earth, yeah, absolutely. You can absolutely. You can touch the flat Earth. The flat Earth. You can taste the flat Earth. The flat
Word salad cream. Word salad cream today. Taste it today.
That tastes like shit. That tastes like shit.
Oh, that was a welcome break from Witsit, wasn't it? We might have a corgi break later. We'll see how we go. All right, let's dive back in.
And the KJV Bible was scientific. Yeah, true that. There are people that claim to be Christians, but the Bible literally says that the earth is flat, and they act like it doesn't. I don't know. It's really weird. It's really kind of weird. But nevertheless, so yeah, you can't shift the burden of proof. Really take that in. It's simple. We falsified the positive claim of the globe Earth. And understand the implications of the falsification of the radius. The current connotation of gravity relies heavily on that number. That means gravity implodes, orbital trajectory implodes. Everything about the globe Earth model, the heliocentric model, relies on the radius of 3959, as does the 24-hour day.
So where does he think we got these numbers from? By going out into nature and seeing what was there and figuring it out. You think we made it up, but we can verify all of it. And you haven't falsified any of it.
Night cycle, the seasons, a mile, everything relies on that radius. So we have completely falsified the entirety of the model once we falsify the radius, which we have literally done. Go look at the...
No, you haven't. You've misunderstood how refraction works. That's what you've done.
Black swan. Okay, now to touch on something that Globers love to say is gravity. Let me give you an example of when Globers will invoke their little deified force known as gravity. The necessary antecedent to gas pressure is a physical container. We have a pressurized system on Earth with gas pressure in it, okay? Now, according to the second law of thermodynamics, it's about entropy, right? Energy transfer, heat to cold in layman terms. So high pressure will naturally seek equilibrium and migrate to low pressure systems. So they say that we have a pressurized system here on Earth and it's adjacent to a near perfect vacuum of 10 to the negative 17 torr. So how do we have gas pressure here without the necessary antecedent of physical containment?
How do we have that? This.
Gravity, you fucking retard! You fucking retard! Have you ever heard of fucking gravity? Have you ever heard of fucking gravity? Gravity! Gravity! Now I need a cigarette.
All observation shows us that always. If you let gas out of something, it's going to immediately seek equilibrium and it's going to disperse in all directions. Okay, so you have a big issue there with your model. It's violating the second law of thermodynamics.
It's violating the straw man that you built about the second law of thermodynamics because you don't understand what it is.
This is where Globers will just parrot the word gravity. So most of them don't even know this, but you have to understand what gravity it is that you're discussing. Okay, so what is your connotation of gravity? So I guess
I'm getting facepalm overload here. He's basically saying, oh, you got to understand gravity, but it doesn't exist. What?
you'll say, well, they don't even know, but I'll just explain it to you, okay? So originally there was Newtonian gravity, proportionate mass, mutual mass acceleration, and in fact Newton himself didn't even postulate an explanation. And in fact what he did say was to think that this would work on brute matter in the vacuum of space over vast distances is to me so great an absurdity that no man with competent faculty of thinking in philosophical matters would ever fall into it. So basically Newton himself said the way that you use gravity is retarded, and yet he died.
I don't think he listens to what he says. It just pours out of his mouth and he just thinks, hey, that felt good.
Right, and then people postulated an explanation for him and then attributed the idea to him. And he literally said, No one with competent faculties of thinking on philosophical matters could ever fall into it. That was superseded by Einsteinian gravity in 1915. The idea that gravity is the effect.
No, it wasn't superseded. It was explained better. Newton explained the how. Einstein gave some insights into why. We still don't fully understand, but at least we've got some experiments that verify what Einstein was saying, so we're on the right track.
Effect of warped space-time. Okay, space, a conceptual abstraction, and time, a conceptual abstraction. Time is a human construct we use to quantify existence. It's a measurement of magnitude between 2 points. It's a measurement of passing. It's purely a conceptual abstraction we use to quantify existence. It's nothing in and of itself. It is a concept. Space is also a concept. It's a conceptual abstraction used to represent a privation. A privation is the absence of anything, right? So the absence of anything, i.e. nothing, nothingness is an example.
So you can see why Witsit is persuasive to people who don't know better. If people know what he's talking about, they know it's utter rubbish. But if you don't know what he's talking about, it sounds like he knows what he's talking about. And that's how he has followers. He's pouring out bullshit. But, people who don't understand that it's bullshit will just think, oh, wow, he knows a lot of things. It's because they don't know better. That's why we do debunking. We want to help those people who are easily fooled by grifters like him. The problem is, Witsit's fooled himself as well to believe that he actually knows what he's talking about.
Privation. A shadow is an example of a privation. It can have attributes. It's cooler when you stand in the shadow, but it cannot have properties because it's nothing in and of itself. A privation is nothing in and of itself. Shadow is just absence of light. Okay, so it is nothing in and of itself. It's just absence of light. It can have attributes, not properties. Space is a privation, the absence of anything that cannot have physical properties. The theory of relativity attempts to attribute physicality, physical properties, to a privation, conceptual abstractions. Okay, that's called a reification.
And that's another thing that FLIRTs always get wrong. They don't understand what physical means. Physical, the easiest way to think of physical is not metaphysical. So that means everything in reality is physical, including shadows.
Fallacy. So on its face, the theory of relativity isn't even a feasible postulation, even in theoretical possibility, because it's a reification.
Sorry, what echo? I'm not hearing any echo at all on my end. What are you hearing? Are you hearing Witsit in echo? Are you hearing me in echo? What's happening? I'm not seeing any response. All right, well, let me know if there's an echo, but I'm not hearing that. And I've played these clips back and I'm not hearing echo. Oh, Gravity clip had echo. That's interesting. Again, I didn't hear it. Oh, I wonder why that is. So when I play the Word Salad Cream and Gravity clip, it echoes bad. That's concerning. I'll have to have a look at that. I'm not sure how I can address that because it sounds fine on this end. So, all right.
Fallacy, literally. Okay, so Albert Einstein reified space, a privation, and gave it physical properties. So the very conceptual backing of gravity isn't even sufficient. Not to mention that the little incestuous scrabbler that he was, he took the equations, the mathematical representation of gravity from Lorentz. The Lorentz equations, Lorentz transformations, which had an electromagnetic conceptual backing, and then he changed the conceptual backing, but he just took the math, and he also took it from Poincare. He didn't even come up with anything. He's a complete and total loser. He dropped out of school. In fact, he didn't even get accepted into school because he couldn't pass the basic competency test when it comes to mathematics.
What school did you go to, Witsit? Apparently, when we first encountered you, you were a car wash attendant. Not that there's anything wrong with being a car wash attendant, but they tend not to be able to disprove the physics for the last 500 years.
So it's a clown world. That dude was an idiot, and he married his first cousin, and then wrote about how he wanted to hook up with her daughter. And he's revered, but we weren't told about Nikola Tesla, one of the brightest minds ever. So there you go. There's the ordeal with gravity.
So ad hominems, in other words.
Literally, there's not even a theoretical postulation as to what gravity is to explain it that makes any sense, because the only one that's currently used, the current scientific rhetoric, is a reification fallacy. In addition to that,
that's your straw man of it.
It's just never been proven or substantiated. Okay, so this right here, that was downward acceleration. Okay, so things fall to the ground. That's an effect. Take this in, Glovers. Downward acceleration is an effect. Okay, we have an agreed upon average of 9.8 meters per second squared, a general rate of acceleration to the Earth when unimpeded. Okay, that's 9.8 meters per second squared. It's just an average. It's a generality, an agreed upon average of the phenomena, an observable phenomena, i.e., an effect of local downward acceleration. That's all 9.8 meters per second squared is, little g. Okay, so gravity claims to be the cause of that effect. So when people say, you want me to prove gravity, and they do this, that's just, I'm sorry, that's just retarded. That's not how it works at all. Okay, that is an effect, local downward acceleration of 9.8 meters per second squared, a magical representation, a mathematical description of the effect gravity claims to be the cause. And scientific means, empirical evidence has to correlate the cause and the effect. That's what science is. So the scientific method is. Never in the history of mankind has that cause ever been substantiated. So I really want you to take that in. That I'm not just saying that. Glovers will say something about, Cavendish, okay, where they had a couple, lead balls, and they said that it was gravity that affected them, even though he was attempting to determine the weight of the Earth. So it shows you where that guy's head was. But simply, it has a window.
And it shows you how Fleurs misused what he was trying to say to twist it to support them for some reason.
Of error, it isn't consistent, and it also, once again, doesn't correlate cause to effect. It doesn't take into account electrostatics. Anything with matter inherently is electrostatic. Electrostatics is well known to be a much stronger force than gravity's even.
I must point out that amongst Fleurs at the moment, this electrostatics thing seems to be a bit of a theme. So we might have to debunk that yet again. Electrostatics does have a small effect on biological creatures, mainly because there's iron in our blood, but it's not enough to keep us stuck to the ground.
Postulated to be. So how could you adequately differentiate between electrostatics and gravity? It's pretty
easy. Put yourself in a Faraday cage. If you start floating, it's electrostatics. If you don't, it's something else.
Pretty dumb. Okay, so Cavendish obviously doesn't prove.
This was really stupid. This was really stupid.
Let me know if Arctic was echoey there, please.
Gravity. So again, just to summarize for you, there isn't even a feasible theoretical possibility in the form of a conceptual backing for what gravity could be, and in addition, it's literally never been proven. Literally. Okay, so relative density is a sufficient answer of the explanation or of the observable.
Well, no, it isn't. Yes, Dave's going to wind up in hospital with a concussion. Yes, well, we haven't got to the worst bit yet. There was an echo on. Oh, geez, that must be a StreamYard's problem then. I'm not sure how to address that. That's annoying because I've got all these wonderful clips I can play to spice up my videos. Well, that's another situation. Okay, well, let's give this video a rest because I've had enough of him. But unfortunately, in fact, let's do a bit of a corgi break, eh? I've got to have the sound off because of copyright music issues I'm trying to sort out. But you can watch some Artie and Brera have a run around for a bit. He's so fluffy right now. The healing power of corgis. Sort of dilutes Witsit somewhat. So Dave McKeegan, how come you don't have one of these? All right, enough of that. Let's get on to the last video I want to show today because you've probably had enough of Witsit and so have I. I've got two bits I want to play you from this. Let's go.
Fills the available space, the second law gets thrown out the window, but no big deal. Who needs natural law? We have cartoons. So here's the government telling you numerous times that the only way they can do anything with practical use cases when people's lives are at stake is to assume the earth is flat. But the government's probably trolling with documents that had to be declassified.
Now, the only person who thinks that this is a problem are people who have never had anything to do with computer systems. You simplify down the model that your system is supposed to replicate to achieve the goal that you're trying to achieve. There's no, when you're doing an aircraft simulation, which is what this is about, you don't need to model the entire Earth. You just need to model the space underneath the aircraft. And especially back in the, these are mostly from the 1970s, where there wasn't enough computing power to model the entire Earth. So you just had to just model what was around the pilot in the simulation. So, he's just demonstrating his indoctrination, in other words.
And no one's ever read and they've hidden from the public. They're just trolling. They're just bored. Right here, propagation of electromagnetic fields over a flat Earth. This is actually how they engineer a ground weapon system, ground weapon towers, and they had to assume the Earth was specifically a dielectric plane in order for them to acquire the target or to have any accuracy of practical use. Here you go. They're talking about determining the brightness of the firmament, assuming a near sun and a flat Earth, and that the approximation for the firmament was proven correct in the bottom left. And of course, here we have the air trajectory model. The only way you can even design an aircraft is to assume there's a flat non-rotating surface, as do pilots when they fly them, where people would literally die. They don't assume that the Earth is curving down beneath them or spinning because literally they couldn't fly the plane. So there's numerous government documents.
For God's sake, Witsit, stop or you will explode. He just pours it out.
Here's just a couple of them we put together for you, saying that literally anytime that they design any technology or any practical use is used in the real world, the only way it works is to assume you're just including electromagnetic propagation for ground weapon systems. Well, no big deal. Probably is a ball. They just have to act like it isn't a ball. Just a coincidence. So here's an infamous picture from 275.
Dave, I hope to talk to you about this image tomorrow. You did an excellent video on this. So, yeah, we'll talk about that tomorrow.
Miles away, the infamous world's longest photograph. There should be numerous miles of obstruction here, like numerous feet of obstruction here, but it's not there. We just see the mountains, and they must not actually be there. They're just where they are. Here are numerous states, science. Several U.S. states led by Florida are flatter than a pancake. There's like a list of 11 or 12 there. 10 flattest places on the earth. You got all kinds of different places that are incredibly flat for immense amounts of distances. But the earth is a globe. Obviously, it's just flat everywhere for hundreds of miles everywhere. And they admit it. And this is coming from physical empirical measurement, unlike McTune's little look at something in the distance and presuppose spherical excess. But we'll get into that later, I'm sure. So anyway, the earth is such a ball that it's flat everywhere. You know how it goes. Okay, you could.
So I think that'll do for that one. He just pours out of his mouth. And to finish off, the last thing I'll subject you to, I should say, is towards the end when he was just fully charged up. And, oh, God, facepalm protection.
Spherical excess, you actually look over a vast distance, you say that there's no refraction, but then right after that, you can rewind for the audience. He literally said, well, there is some, you got to account for it, and whoop-de-whoop. Yeah, of course, there's refraction, there's a fluctuation. You take an apparent location, presuppose the radius value, presuppose the Earth's a sphere, and then you take the fluctuation of the differential in the apparent location, and then you say, look, here, it's more than 180 degrees, and we don't need refraction. It's not really here, but it's kind of here. Wow, dude, that was really difficult. Please send me some more through the DMs. So, and then she said, oh, if the moon's a sphere, we don't presuppose the moon's a sphere. We've seen the same side of it forever. So no, that doesn't prove the Earth. Well, I can go through your entire info right now. It's not true. It's all dumb. It's all presuppositions. What we'll always get in SIPs oftentimes is how many times will Austin say specificity or presuppositions? I'm sorry that Globers make me say presuppositions to every one of their postulations, but that's what it is. So here's a quick recap of the situation. We pointed out that the horizon that we see is nothing more than an apparent location. It constantly fluctuates based on atmospheric conditions. It's called a horizon because it's horizontal. That's what we've all observed. Anyway, so when we looked at long hallways and railroads, they always converge optically, right? That's what we know. That's what we can replicate. That's what we can demonstrate. That's what we observe. You say, well, that's what we observed, but there's something else going on that we just don't ever see because NASA went to the moon in 1969.
Yes, that's a connection, isn't it? We don't see it because NASA went to the moon. What logic?
Right, like that's what you're saying, and that there's an apparent location you can't tell. You can presuppose that it's there, presuppose a radius value, fluctuate it with the category error, then come up with some mathematical equation that doesn't even work, and then that makes the Earth the ball. Cool story, bro. We see mountains 273 miles away, 255 miles away. We falsify the radius value. It is impossible that we live on the radius value that they say that we do. It's impossible that we live on the radius value that we say that we do. We falsify the fact you don't have the causal equation for gravity. So there you go. We talked about the basics. Just look into it. I do this for the third-party viewer as the she. Just open your mind. I know it sounds crazy. I thought it was crazy. Don't be a zealot and try to defend the government via Stockholm Syndrome. It's okay. Don't make this weird, bro. They lied. I just encourage you to look into it, and then you will find out that, in fact, all the empirical evidence is on one side. Thank you.
Move into the Q&A.
All right. Phew. What a torrent of bullshit. Goodness me. I need to recover after that. How does everyone feel? It's just exasperating. Goodness me. It just pours out of his mouth and keeps going. Oh. All right. You can feel relieved now. I'm not going to subject you to any more Witsit. We've had enough of him. And let's move on to Meme Roundup. And thanks to Wally for some of these memes. So this is something that Witsit was talking about. In reality, according to experimentation, you can't create a gas pressure or a vacuum without a container. That's a straw man because it ignores the fact that planets have atmospheres. If you can consider gravity as the container. So, but in CGI Bortardia, yes, that's a nice ad hominem. Anything is possible. No, it's gravity. If you understand what you're actually straw manning, then you'll understand that you're wrong. Yes. Do you want to work at NASA discovering exotic alien planets? Learn Photoshop. Well, of course we don't have photos of all these planets. They're all artists' impressions. Flirts don't seem to understand the point of artist impressions. They're to visualize what NASA's talking about. It's to help people get an image in their head so they understand what we're talking about.
And these are based on the available information on each of these worlds. Look at Kepler 344c. I believe that's the one that's most Earth-like. It's basically a water world, whereas others are just barren rocks, and that's what they've got here. They're just giving you an idea, guys. You don't have to take it so seriously. Save the dodos. They're still here. Yes, any Flurf echo chamber proves that. Earth's curve is 1 degree over 69 miles. They never sort of figure out that degrees imply a curve in itself. 69 miles equals that many inches. Drinking glass is 2.5 inches. 1 degree. I haven't checked this maths. So a tiny amount of degrees of curvature in the water of the glass. Well, yeah, but then you've got other factors like the surface tension of the water gives you a meniscus. So, and anything that small, we're probably not going to get to measure it. So I don't even know what the point was. Why were they trying to do this? Yeah, so I think what they're doing here is Flurfs are saying, oh, we need to look up at the sky to determine what's beneath our feet. That's the silly meme that they use. But if you can determine what something is based on its interaction with other things, such as the stars. There's so much science behind that, and they just ignore it because it doesn't make sense to them because they're idiots. And this is one thing that's in common with all Flurfs is they don't really understand maths. It's scary to them. So this is the way they see math word problems. If you have 4 pencils and I have 7 apples, how many pancakes will fit on the roof? Purple because aliens don't wear hats. That's pretty much a Flurf thought process. It's funny how they wanted to advertise that. And another straw man, they think we worship Google. Google's just a resource and it's benign. So, you know, it's not that the fact that you use a tool to look for information, it's what's in the information itself that proves Earth is a globe. And the ether, despite the ether being proven wrong by Michelson-Morley, Flurfs seem to go on. For some reason, the ether supports flat Earth. I've never really figured that out, to be honest. The ether is the ever-present field that connects all things. Yes, everything is connected. They're getting into spiritualism, I guess. Every inch of the ether consists of an infinite amount of free energy. This is the elite's greatest secret. If science were to reveal that the ether exists, it would destroy the entire foundation of mainstream atomism. What the hell is atomism? And particle science. Denying the ether would be like a fish denying that it is surrounded by water. Well, denying the globe is like a Flurf denying the globe. I guess that makes sense. I think you know what I was trying to say. I didn't really say it well. I finally realized that people are prisoners of their phones. That's why they're called cell phones. Well, it's only called cell phones in some countries. In the civilized world, they're usually referred to as mobile phones, in English anyway, which is kind of the exact opposite of the image they got here. They're called cell phones because of the towers represent a cell of where the phone can connect to the wired network. That's all that means. It's got nothing to do with being in jail. But yes, some people get addicted to their phones and they act as if they're prisoners of their phones. But they're not really. They just need to grow up a bit, really. And I love these ones. Crowded space. So this image is a straw man. None of the satellites in space at the moment are anywhere near as large as this relative to the Earth. And it's like looking at a photograph of a park and saying, well, there's probably several million insects in that photograph, but you can't see any of them because they're so small relative to what you're looking at. And satellites, except when photoshopping astronauts. Okay. The curious case of water. Water on the lake. I guess they're saying flat. Water in the sea. Well, I don't know if that image has been doctored, but usually when you take a photo of the sea with that wider field of view, you can compress it and demonstrate the curve. Water in the pool, flat. Water in the glass, flat. Water in the classroom. Can anyone notice the difference between this and everything else? The difference is scale. This is in meters. This is probably in kilometers. This is probably in kilometers. This is in centimeters. This is in tens of thousands of kilometers. You can't compare them. And I pinched this from Simon Dan's X-Platform feed. This apparently a Flurf sent him this. The globe myths scientific method. So straw man alert. Step 1, make an assumption. The Earth is a globe. Step 2, research. Wikipedia says the Earth is a globe. Step 3, form a hypothesis. The Earth is a globe because it has lots of science. Step 4, experiment. The Earth is a globe because everyone believes it. Why would they lie? That's not an experiment. How could they keep this conspiracy a secret? NASA, ISS, where is your model? SpaceX, where is the edge? Space-time and black holes. Step 5, analyze the results. The Earth is a globe. That's more the straw man method, I would have thought. No globe person has ever done anything like that. And this one I got from a Flurf contributor to the X platform, and he said, this is the best way for it to make sense. Really? This makes sense. You just have to look at it. Goodness me. Earth spins, water sticks to it, closed spin, water flies off. I don't know. Again, Flurfs don't compare apples with apples. They rotate. Rotates, well, the real version of it rotates one time every 24 hours. This one rotates several times every second. It's a different situation, you idiots. And Mike Oxbig, another X-Platform guy. Oh, he also had a post where he's got a Flat Earther shirt. You can just see it in here, but you probably can't see it on the screen. And he was saying, oh, no one's ever challenged me. That's because it's the equivalent of having insane stamped on your forehead and walking around. No one's going to talk to anyone like that. Gay theists. Oh, wow, they're so clever with their ad hominems. Think it's possible to travel to a little luminary in the sky and look back at our insignificant little speck of dust. Flat Earthers know we exist at the center of all observable creation, and yet you have no evidence that you can give anyone about it. And just laugh at those who have been psyoped into believing those tiny what? Oh, show more. I didn't do that. Mars, according to NASA, according to amateur astronomers who do it for all over the world. And Mars, according moving across the sky in real time, Nikon P900. Why would you limit yourself to just one example? There are other ways of looking at Mars. Wouldn't you increase your data set to be sure? Your incompetence at focusing a camera, especially when you leave the autofocus on, is not our problem. And that's us from Mars. It's a bit too small for you to see, and it's a bit small for me to figure out what they're saying. I thought, I've seen pictures of the Earth from Mars, and it was just a dot, not a line, but anyway, it's just stupid. All right, so if you've got I think that does me for memes. If you've got a silly meme you'd like me to put on the stream, send it to me, and if it's fit for general consumption, it's probably going to get on. Contact details are in the description of this video. Let me know who you'd like me to look at in the near future by leaving a comment below. I appreciate all suggestions. For tomorrow, Dave McKeegan joins me. We'll be having fun. They'll be at 2000 UTC Wednesday. It's Wednesday today for me, but I'm in Australia. So it'll be 6 a.m. Eastern Australian Standard Time Thursday. Dave's a professional photographer, so we'll go through a few of the flat Earth misconceptions that he's debunked in his videos. Dave, I'll send you a list of things later today. Do the YouTube things, like the stream, subscribe, click join to become a member. Leave a comment. I love to read your comments. In particular, if you're one of the few who watch my videos who aren't subscribed to the channel, please click the subscribe button below this video on your screen. I'd love to have you as a subscriber. And I think that just about does it.
There's nothing left to do but cue the corgi.
You're despicable.